a service of CNC Worldwide.
The Daily is a service of CNC Worldwide and Jib Jab greetings. I'm Bud Lowell, and your full AccuWeather forecast right up on top of your CNC local news pages. Well, between them, Republican Maggie Brooks and Democrat Louise Slaughter have raised more than $3 million in their campaign for Congress. As this breakdown from the Center for Responsive Politics shows, Slaughter has spent far more of the money she's raised fighting to stay in the House of Representatives. Brooks, who is currently the Monroe County executive, still had more than $850,000 available to spend as of September 30th. That's the closing day for these reports, which are filed with the Federal Elections Commission and were made public on Monday. These reports don't count spending by super PACs and the other outside groups like Crossroads GPS, which have targeted Louise Slaughter and other Democrats, and they don't count the money spent by the New York State Democratic Committee and other outsiders slamming Brooks. An analysis of Monday's data by the Sunshine Foundation reporting group finds that outside organizations have spent more than $1,067,894 either supporting or targeting Democrat Slaughter. Non-district groups trying to either elect or defeat Republican Brooks this year have spent $329,833 trying to influence your vote. The New York 25th District is not among them, but a report on the nation's 25 most competitive congressional races by the Brennan Center for Justice at the New York University School of Law finds that outside groups have spent nearly the same amount as the candidates themselves in highly competitive races this year. Monroe County's Fair Election Practices Committee has ruled on another complaint about advertising in the 25th District U.S. House campaign between Democrat Louise Slaughter and Republican Maggie Brooks. This time, the Fair Campaign panel ruled mostly in Slaughter's favor, saying a TV ad paid for by the super PAC Crossroads GPS contains inaccuracies. Slaughter said the ad contained 4 incorrect statements, violating the Fair Campaign pledge each candidate signed. This particular ad claims that Slaughter no longer supports Rochester area interests because she voted to spend nearly $2 million to collect ants in Africa, spend $25 million for snowmaking in Vermont, and $300,000 to study weather on the planet Venus. At the same time, more than 250,000 people had lost their jobs in New York State. The Fair Campaign panel ruled that the claims about collecting ants and studying weather on other planets were earmarks in federal budgets that Congresswoman Slaughter voted for, so those statements are true. It ruled that the claim she spent money for snowmaking in Vermont is not true. The committee said County Executive Brooks should repudiate the ad, which was not produced by or funded by her campaign. A previous complaint brought by Brooks against Slaughter ended up with a ruling against the pro-Slaughter ad, which tied Brooks to problems at the airport and other county agencies. That ad was also ruled inaccurate. A panel named by Governor Andrew Cuomo to sum up New York State's future energy needs has recommended $5.7 billion in future investment into the state's energy infrastructure. The Energy Highway Task Force blueprint would add up to 3,200 megawatts of additional electric generating and transmission capacity and clean power generation for New York. That's enough to power about 3.2 million homes. The report says the billions of dollars needed to do this can mostly be found by encouraging new private investment. The panel says we need this now, and here's what they're calling for. They want to invest $1 billion for 1,000 megawatts of new or modern electric transmission lines and speed up more than $1 billion already being invested in such projects to improve reliability and safety of electric transmission, less power lost in transmission, fewer electromagnetic emissions around power lines. They want to put $250 million of taxpayers' money in new renewable energy projects, levering another $425 million in private investment. They want to modernize and repower the existing inefficient high-emission plants, mostly coal burners, creating 750 megawatts or retaining 750 megawatts of power. And they want to put in a $1.5 billion investment to do that. Most of those would be in western New York. And they want to begin studies of offshore wind development on the Atlantic Ocean. The Energy Highway Task Force says these things will significantly reduce the time required to develop new generating stations and transmission lines, replacing old ones that are no longer efficient to run or are just too expensive to retrofit for modern air pollution standards. Rochester police released the city's third quarter crime statistics Tuesday. Once they're available, we'll put them up in the headlines column on the left of the screen. This year so far has seen an increase in violent crimes, particularly shootings. On the other hand, property crimes, particularly burglaries, were down for the first 6 months. Southwest Airlines and Monroe County Executive Maggie Brooks say Southwest will kick off its Rochester hub next spring with nonstop service to Chicago. Southwest will convert Rochester and 3 other hubs of its subsidiary AirTrans into full Southwest operations beginning in April of 2013. They'll retain the existing AirTrans flights from the ROC to Baltimore-Washington Airport to Tampa and to Orlando. Brooks says adding 2 daily nonstops to Midway Airport in Chicago will give passengers from the ROC access to 97 destinations in the U.S. and Mexico along the Southwest network. Southwest says they'll do this with bigger planes, Boeing 737s, and their bags fly free policy. All of this starts April 13th. To the left of this player window, links to these and other stories, and at the bottom in the gray bar, links you can use. We'd like you to post us news items, things you've written, commentaries, things you've heard about and think should be checked out. And as we are a community news resource, of course, we want to see your wedding announcements, birth announcements, business openings, all that sort of thing. You can post them directly to us, and you'll see them on CNC News. Next news as it happens, updates when necessary, and I'm Bud Lowell, CNC News.